You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
Sounds like some bad movie.
We're actually reviewing the prequel to the John Carpenter 1982 film, The Thing.
And I have problems with calling it a prequel.
There are elements that make it a prequel.
I'm jumping ahead, but
are we going to do spoilers for this? Even though it is a prequel?
It's the same goddamn movie. How can we spoil it?
It kind of is the same movie. I will give you that. I did still find it enjoyable.
I'll give a spoiler
in a lot of the scenes of the movie.
We should give a spoiler just because I want to go into detail about what I didn't like about the film, and it wasn't a bad movie.
No, it really wasn't.
I enjoyed it.
I will give them credit where credit is due. To an extent,
yeah,
and we'll talk about that.
And I'll take it away where it's not due.
Yeah.
But I have no problem with going into great detail about the ending and everything because it's so repetitive and such a remake that it shouldn't even be called a prequel.
Yeah. Yeah. I after seeing it, I do agree with you that there are iconic moments that are completely stolen from the Carpenter film.
Yeah.
Now, it's not to say that those moments might.
Do you want to talk about that first?
Might not have happened,
right?
But I don't think they would have happened in nearly the exact same way.
Now, I want to preface this.
Preface
that too, with the fact that originally this was supposed to be a remake.
Was it? Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
The studios wanted to remake The Thing.
Okay.
Carpenter, I guess, was on board because what the hell is he doing now?
He's the ward.
Like I said. Now, the filmmakers approached the studio and tried and convinced them to do a prequel instead, saying that they knew that if we do a straight out remake, that it's going to have a negative response. No one's going to come to see it. They're going there's too much of a following.
The Thing is still to this day just about on every top 5 horror list.
Yeah,
just about.
It is an iconic film. It is almost a perfect film.
Yeah.
I say very close to perfect. And they knew that anything they did as far as remaking it would not be looked upon well.
No.
So knowing that, they talked the studios into making it a prequel. Okay. Now, having gone through great lengths not to do a remake, they couldn't be bothered to change the name.
No, yeah. They kept that.
Now, if you look up the reason why... They say they couldn't think of the Thing add-on, The Thing, blah, 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 blah.
You know, like Antarctica.
Or the beginning. They said they couldn't think of anything that sounded cool.
Okay.
That's a lie. And there are several lies involved in the making of this film.
They could have called it The Thing Who Goes There. And I would have probably been fine with that.
They could have just called it Who Goes There.
They could have done that. But the draw was The Thing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
So basically,
that's the draw.
Yeah, that's the draw. They didn't change that because they knew people wouldn't want to see it if they didn't think it was The Thing.
Right.
So that's a lie. They could have come up with a different title that worked.
I'm sure they could have.
They just and
they probably won't release the ideas that they had because someone would say, "What about that one? That one right there would have been fine."
I could come up with a dozen right now. You could have called it something else. But they so wanted to make sure it stayed that any business it got was going to be from the franchise people. So, right out there. Then, they stole the cover. They stole the...
with the snow jacket?
Right. They just
in
reversed it.
the middle of the snow.
They reversed it because the original poster is the snow jacket
facing forward
and
with light coming from behind it.
Right, and then the thing is in black on it.
Yeah.
They just literally reversed it. I'm looking at it right now. It's the guy in a snowsuit.
Right.
But the light is
it's not
it's inside
yet.
a light, the thing.
Yep.
They just let's put this backwards. It's almost as aggravating as the Straw Dogs poster. Where it's like, let's just do the exact same thing, but let's put a cheesy little face in the eyeglass.
Yeah. Oh god.
So
bad.
So that's another lie. That they were trying to make
I don't so much hate the idea of them mimicking the poster.
I do. It's lazy.
No.
It's lazy.
I don't I know what they were trying to do. They're trying to draw in that audience.
They're trying to do a remake without doing a remake.
Yeah, but I think what I really do think is if, let's say you and I were given money to make a film and we knew that there was a demographic for it, an audience for it, marketing would do their very best. Maybe not necessarily the filmmakers. Marketing would say, listen, we got to do it this way because we know we need to draw in the certain people.
And I would say if the filmmakers were able to convince the studio
right
to make a prequel instead of a remake, they could manipulate advertising.
Maybe they were pushing their luck with getting the prequel. You don't know. You never know. I don't want to defend them so much, but I do want to defend them a little bit.
I will defend them a little bit when we get to the parts of the film that I thought were okay.
Okay.
Which aren't that many. But so they lost me with their title.
Okay.
They lost me with their origin story, and they lose me with their poster.
Okay.
All right.
That's
where I'm already off on 3 negatives, and I'm ready to hate the film. I'm ready to tear into this thing with all my teeth.
That's without even seeing it yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So my reaction to actually watching the film was not as rabid. It was not a horrible film.
Mine neither.
But
I walked away saying if this wasn't a prequel in any way, if this was just a standalone film on its own, I would have been okay with it.
This reminded me of Avatar.
Oh my.
Hang on.
All right. I'm waiting for it.
The review I wrote for Avatar originally was prefaced
with it wasn't that bad.
What is not bad good enough?
Okay. Yes.
And then I was rabidly attacked by insane Avatar fans for not calling it genius. And that's why now they can go fuck themselves because it was a piece of shit. I was going late on the film.
Right.
And then I realized I was saying to myself, it wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to ask again, is not bad good enough? For what's supposed to be a follow-up to one of the most iconic horror films of the later half of the century. Is not bad.
I just think there was no way they were going to live up to it anyway.
Then why do it?
Well, like you said, the studio wanted it to happen. So I think the filmmakers did their absolute best to try and do that.
No.
And it just didn't work out.
I refuse to make them the heroes of this story.
No, I'm not making anybody a hero. I'm just saying...
Could it have been worse?
Listen,
yes.
Well, of course.
But I will not praise the film simply because it didn't suck balls. I can't stoop that low after having set the bar with Avatar.
Okay. All right.
So that's my question. Is not bad good enough?
No, of course it's not.
For this film.
Not for this type of film anyway.
Right.
And as a standalone, I might even say I enjoyed it.
If
I didn't see the John Carpenter film and I just saw this one, let's say I knew nothing about the John Carpenter film, I might have walked away from this saying, that was pretty good. Right. I like that. I like it's better than a lot of other horror films I've seen lately, but because the Carpenter film exists, because the storyline for the Carpenter film exists, and this one is a precursor to that, it building up to the Carpenter film.
Right.
There is a lot of things that you could say, is not bad good enough.
And I will mention a couple of those things as we go along. But I like the opening scene. As dumb as it is.
Oh, with them falling into the ice.
As dumb as it is, I like that opening scene.
Yeah.
My only problem with that opening scene is I want to see how they got out of that crawler.
Yeah, they didn't show that at all.
I'm thinking that's the most interesting part of this film right now. And you put these people in a situation which is completely insane even before you show that they found a spaceship. Now, we're just going to forget that ever happened.
Yeah, the next shot is them, bringing a giant block of ice with something in it back to base.
Now, here's I want to draw your attention, sir.
Okay.
To the director.
The director.
Majid
Jr.
Right.
Let's see what
I'll tell you what he's done. Nothing.
Ooh.
He's done nothing.
Well, I'll tell you what.
You know what?
For having done nothing.
You know who he is?
No.
He's junior.
Junior.
Who's senior?
Who's his dad?
The producer.
Oh.
Go scroll up to his IMDb thing. Go up.
Yeah.
Son of producer Majid van Heggersen.
What has his father done? He's done wow, lots of stuff. All foreign though.
Right. So he's a producer's son.
He's been doing stuff since 1973. His father.
And his first film ever.
Daddy.
Is.
Daddy helped him out.
Junior's first directorial. His daddy's son's directorial debut is a prequel to one of the greatest horror films of all times. What the fuck? That's problem number one.
How did that even happen? Everything up until this point his father has produced has been foreign.
Problem number two.
Yes.
See the writer. Eric Hesserer. And John, Don't click it.
Don't click it
yet.
Okay.
Now, one of my complaints,
yes,
and one of your complaints, is that there are certain scenes in this film that are
iconic.
Complete remakes, reprints, practically, redone scenes.
From the dog scene,
the dog tearing the fence,
to them sitting in a room figuring out who's the thing,
to the even the, what do you call it, the when they're taking apart the
they're taking apart.
What the hell is that called?
What?
When people take apart bodies in a morgue, an autopsy scene. Thank you, sir. What is my problem today?
It's okay. I haven't eaten yet.
Me neither. That's got to be what it is.
Yeah, it's got to be.
The autopsy scene, right out of it. Even to like, okay, even murder. We have to figure out what's going on. Quick, everyone to the rec room. What the hell? So, I'm setting this up for a reason. No, don't stop. No, stop.
All right, go.
I'm setting it for a reason. Guess what other film this person has written?
Oh shit! Can I click now?
Yes.
I'm not even.
Oh look, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I'm shocked. Wait a minute. Did I also complain about that film ripping iconic scenes right out of the original and just pasting them in there?
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's done it again. I haven't seen Final Destination 5, but you kind of expect that from Final Destination.
Well, yeah.
So the guy who wrote his
next film was a Hurricane Katrina movie.
Yeah. So the person who wrote the not very well received Nightmare on Elm Street remake, and the fifth of the Final Destination franchises, suddenly is the sole screenwriter credit on a prequel to one of the most famous horror films in the later half of the century. 20th century.
Well, let's just say ever.
Right.
Because that's really more true.
Again, what the fuck? And I saw that after I saw the film. I was like, oh, that explains a lot. What the fuck? How does this happen? Now I'm not surprised that the title and the poster are exactly rip off too, because this guy has no idea.
I actually didn't go this deep.
I didn't mean to.
I'm not surprised
I didn't mean
you
to.
did.
I was like, well, I should know something about the writer-directors. What the fuck? What? Really? If I had known this beforehand, I would have not gone in so like, oh, maybe I might like it. You know?
Oh my God.
But I wanted to point out writer-director first.
Yeah.
This is the main reason this film sucks. Well, it doesn't totally suck, but the parts that do suck, these two are the reason.
Okay. Well, and you know what? As far as these iconic scenes go, I do think at some point they'll probably be trying to figure out who the hell is who. And I do think at some point they're going to have issues with being stuck in the cold outside. But they could have done it a little differently. When they're in that room and they're trying to figure out who the hell is who and their blood test gets all fucked up, That was just a blatant reason to say, listen, if we do a blood test, what the fuck are we doing here?
Now, I have a problem with that, too, because...
Oh, is what checking the teeth?
Well, no. That's actually the smartest thing this film did.
Yeah.
Was setting...
No, I wasn't saying that it wasn't, but...
That was genius, and they should have just stuck with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my problem with the whole idea of the blood test is... in the other film, it's like a last-ditch idea.
Oh yeah,
it's like, well, maybe we can do a test of some kind.
Yeah, they just knew that fire and the thing did not mix. It just did not like fire. So Kurt Russell was like, well, let's put something hot in blood.
Right. Well, even before he came up with that test, though, they said, well, let's do some kind of blood test, maybe.
Right.
My problem with the scientists in this is these scientists came here specifically because they knew it was like an alien kind of thing going.
Something in the ice.
They have no idea what they're dealing with. But they're going to come up with a blood test to tell whether or not you're... After they have figured out that it assimilates perfectly...
Yeah.
It's like, well, we can come up with a blood test. But if it assimilates perfectly, how are you going to tell? And since they looked under the microscope and
they saw that it attacking other cells.
Oh, they simply could have just said, well, let's just take your blood and put it under the microscope and see if it's...
aggressive in any way, sure.
They spent way too long setting up this elaborate blood test, then walk away from it.
Right. No, yeah.
So I had a huge problem with the logic behind that, just to do the same thing where the original was perfect. It's like, let's do a blood test. Let's go back. Oh, the blood's gone. Well, there goes that idea. That was genius.
Yeah. But...
yeah.
No, I like what you were saying with them checking their fillings because it can't obviously simulate metal.
Which I thought was genius.
Yes.
I thought that was...
And it was something that when I saw it in the film, I go, you know what? Yeah, that sounds like it couldn't do that.
Right.
You know? Obviously, the Carpenter film didn't delve into that because they didn't think of it. They thought of it for this
now,
movie because they needed an out.
There are a lot of fans that are pissed off at the prequel now because of that.
Yeah.
Because it ruins the ending for them. Because at the end... The whole idea is you don't know whether or not Giles is...
oh, right.
Is it... But if you go back now...
Mac and... Yeah.
Right, but if you go back now, Giles still has his earring in.
Oh, if you watch
the original.
The original?
Or the Carpenter film.
Yeah.
You'll see that. Because whenever you say the original was...
Yes.
The thing from another world.
Yeah, because they do mention something about an earring in someone in the prequel.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you go back now, and I think it's misguided anger, because they're just upset that they ruined the whole debate now, whether or not it could have been Giles. I would point out that you still don't know if McCready's the thing or not.
Or, what's his face?
There's only 2 survivors at the end of it.
Yeah. McCready.
And Giles.
Oh.
Childs. Childs.
I
keep saying Giles.
I don't know. Yeah.
Giles is the guy from, is the book guy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
Childs, I meant.
Childs. Yeah,
Childs. So, we now know, if you follow the prequel, which I see no reason not to, follow the logic of the prequel. I think it's sound logic that Childs is not the thing at the end of the film, but we still don't know whether or not McCready is.
Right, you don't.
So that's that.
Right.
So all you people that are all bitchy about that should be your least bitch about the film.
Yeah, you should be more worried that your favorite character might be a fucking alien.
Right.
So, but yeah, I think the iconic scenes, like I just said, I think they will kind of happen, even with the dog.
No. All right.
But not like chewing at the gate. But a dog does that.
Right. Hold on.
I just think they were too similar.
They're too similar and too forced because in the original, in the Carpenter film, let's just call it the Carpenter thing.
Okay.
In the Carpenter thing, you have a pen of dogs.
Yes.
Which becomes a major scene when they put the thing in with the dogs.
And
so they start chewing through the fence.
Yeah.
Right? We now have in the prequel the same scene with a dog chewing through the gate. Mm-hmm. They only own one dog.
Yeah.
The thing is not put in with the dog. And we don't see the dog again until the end of the film. Roughly. We see it one more time.
Yes. It was the
There's no reason to have that scene except that, here's an iconic scene we can put in the trailer.
The only reason the dog exists at all is to tie the two films together.
They couldn't be bothered to give him more than one dog.
And
How come they only have one of them?
Yeah.
Another.
I mean, I know this is radio, but you couldn't see us both raise our hands in the air, all disgusted.
It's not radio; it's podcast. It's different.
Internet radio.
Yeah, well, whatever.
It's internet radio.
Oh, I have an announcement at the end of the show too.
Ooh,
Speaking
nice.
of internet radio,
Very nice.
You're gonna like this one.
Yeah.
But that's a teaser.
Ooh, stay tuned.
That's the problem with this film too, is they hyped it
Yes.
as being we tried to say so true to the Carpenter film that when you go through, everything you see at the Norwegian camp, they're Norwegians, Mac.
They don't speak English, Mac. They're Norwegian. Hey, Sweden.
Oh, give me a second on that one.
I have.
Hold on.
I have
Hold on.
something I can bring to the table with that.
I have something to counterpunch that.
All right.
I know what you're going to say. I'm gonna.
Do you really?
Yeah. Hold on.
Okay.
So they made all this hype. So,
Yeah.
we recreated it. So when they go back to this camp,
Yeah.
and they see all this stuff, it's going to be a direct match. It's going to be so faithful down to and this is what they always like to point out, down to the fire axe in the wall.
Yeah.
Hey,
I read that trivia too.
Yeah, you know what?
I didn't remember it until I read the trivia. I was like, oh yeah, there is an axe in the wall.
And you know what? Kudos to them for getting the axe in the wall. Wonderful. After I went back and watched the original again after this because I was kind of like not annoyed, but just kind of like sad that they did this.
Yeah.
So they made all this hype about this, and then they went ahead and made two huge errors.
Full pause.
Errors.
Okay.
One of which they give an explanation for.
Yeah.
That is a fucking lie, and I'll get to that later.
Okay.
But I want to set that up too. That they did not successfully do what they said they were going to do.
Enlighten me.
You want to go there? I thought you had something else you wanted to say. I thought we were still talking about the iconic.
No, I
scenes
was
or-
going to talk about them.
Let's go with that. Go ahead.
Speaking Norwegian.
Yeah. Before seeing the film, my major complaint was
that it's in English.
Right. It's all in
And-
English, and there's Norwegian. It's a
and-
Norwegian camp.
My take with it was that I didn't mind that it was in English, and the reason I didn't mind was because I don't think, and the film didn't do that well. I mean, it did okay. It made back its budget, but it didn't do well. For a Halloween release, it didn't do well. I think that if it was just a straight out subtitled film, foreign film, it would have done way worse. It might have been better received, but from the really hardcore fans.
I'm not arguing that.
Oh, you're not?
I'm arguing the logic.
The logic for releasing it in English?
No, the logic, the film logic for why everyone's speaking English.
Okay, well, what do you got? I mean, my whole thing
right.
is, they're scientists. I think Europe, in a lot of ways, is ahead of us in this country.
Okay.
As far as education, I think there is a very large chance
I can give you that.
that they would know English and speak their native tongue.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that some, maybe most, of the Norwegian scientists might have use English.
Yeah.
I would like to bring up that they fly in a bunch of
They
Americans.
fly in American.
They fly in because we're, of course, the greatest country in the world.
Ever.
And they fly in Americans to solve this little problem.
Which forces them to speak English.
And, of course, an evil rich one at the head.
Yeah.
Because that never gets old. They fly them in. So they're obviously doing some stuff with English and American words written on them and things like that. The Americans aren't working in Norwegian.
No.
Fuck no. So they don't find any of that American written evidence in the Carpenter film.
No, I know where you're going now.
No, you don't. I'm going to veer left in a minute.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that bothers me.
Okay.
What really bothers me is they go through all this trouble. By the way, way too many people in the film. Way too many characters. They put more characters in so they could kill more, but you lose track of how many people there are.
You know what's funny? Even though they killed more, I think you saw the Thing less in this movie.
Yes and no.
I mean,
There were more.
I mean, not by much.
You saw too much of the CGI thing.
But what I did like is that, yeah, they did a lot of CGI thing, but they did have some animatronic CGI. Some animatronic thing. And some. But they could have had none.
They could have had more.
Yes, they could have had a lot more.
Another lie by the filmmakers.
What's that?
They came out. They beforehand. You can look this up. They were saying, "Oh, we're doing all we can to use as much animatronic live action as we can. We're trying to really push that and bring that.
Well, wasn't that one of the things that I said, that if I was given a budget to make this film, that I would have even gone as far as hiring Rob Bottin back?
Which they didn't.
No.
And not even as an advisor.
No.
And they were oh yeah, we're going to try to do this. And apparently try means fail horribly and have none of it in there.
Yeah.
And only so
it did have
fucking lie.
It did have some, and I will credit them for that.
Some very little. Very little.
Yes. It had enough.
Not enough.
Well, it had enough.
It had
where I wasn't. I was mad.
They had it
that it had a lot of CGI, but it had enough where I wasn't frothing at the mouth.
You know where they didn't have CGI? Where they couldn't get away with it because it was interacting with a human. That's it. There was no point in that film where you could say, well, they could have used CGI there, because if they could, they did.
Yeah. No,
fucking lie.
No, I agree.
But you're trying to distract me, sir.
I am.
Here's my point.
Okay.
I'm willing to buy that most of the Norwegians speak English. And I'm willing to buy that they brought in a bunch of Americans who didn't bring any American documents and didn't write anything down in American speak when they were talking with the Norwegians about this whole situation, that none of the Americans' research was in English. I'll buy that. There's only one. There is only one person on this Norwegian camp that does not speak a word of English. What are the odds it'd be the one that survives at the end and goes into the Carpenter film? What are the odds?
Well, you know they had to set that up.
But only one?
I know.
There's only one?
I know. I agree.
That was the second part of the film where I was like, fuck you. God damn. Because Annie's petting the dog. If I had never seen the Carpenter film, I'd be like, there's something going on there. Oh, that's a setup for something. And he's the only one that pets the dog.
Yeah, I know.
And that's the last time we see the dog.
Yep. You're right.
Bullshit. Bullshit. And even a semi-competent screenwriter would have some of them not speak English and have translating going on.
I think you're more mad reviewing this than you were watching it.
Because I'm mad because I was willing to let it go. Because it's not that bad. No, not bad is not good. Is not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
A semi-competent screenwriter would have said to themselves, well, isn't that kind of cheating? I mean, can't we just make some of them talk Norwegian and just kind of,
Right.
No.
Nah.
The only one that doesn't speak English is, of course, the one that survives at the end to go to the Carpenter film. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
That is insulting bullshit,
Now,
sir.
let me ask you this, though.
Yes?
That aside.
And that's not even one of the two major mistakes I'm going to mention.
Oh, really? Maybe.
That's not a mistake. That's just bad screenwriting.
That aside, what did you think of the transition from the end of this film to the beginning of the Carpenter film?
It was clever.
Because I did think that myself.
It was clever.
I was waiting for it the whole film.
Yeah.
I kind of knew how they were going to do it. And then when I actually saw it on camera, I thought that's pretty interesting.
You know what? I think this is totally unintentional.
Yeah.
It's intentional that they didn't use the Carpenter music until that end. Boom boom.
They had it in the beginning. It was minor, but they had it.
No.
Yeah, sure they did.
I mean, as far as a theme throughout the film, they don't use it until the end.
No, of course not. No,
and that's intentional for them.
They use the same font too.
Yeah, they
a lot of movies
ripped off the same light coming through the tearing, but it was CGI.
It was CGI, and you know what?
And the paper looked better.
It was a garbage bag that they used for the Carpenter
The garbage
film.
bag. I stand corrected. Thank you.
Yeah, there was,
and it looked better.
Yeah.
You know what I thought of when I saw the opening credits? Supergirl. $1 million.
The same thing.
$1 million. Tinfoil letters come out. Really? $1 million? Carpenter did a garbage bag and it looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, I know.
It's probably one of the most iconic opening titles ever.
And
they had to rip it off and they had to CGI it and it looks like shit.
Yeah, I think maybe what they were thinking was if they just took the same titles, the same way, even if they took the same...
That was example number 3.
Even if they didn't try to recreate burning the garbage bag and they just used the one from Carpenter, people would have been like, okay, I'm leaving.
Example
right after that.
It's example number 3 of how they weren't really trying to do a prequel. They were just trying to do a remake that they could get away with.
Right.
Where were we? You sidetracked me. Oh, the music
ending,
at the end.
The ending.
What their intention was to say, this is the segue into the Carpenter film. To me, what it says is, now the good stuff starts. The boom boom. Yeah. This is the indication we're now going to good filmmaking.
Right. It just makes you want to watch the Carpenter film.
Which is what I did.
Yeah.
And I guess their intention was it's supposed to make you want to watch it, but I don't think their intention was like me. It was like,
thank God this one's over.
Now I want to see it done right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
The only one that doesn't speak English.
The only one. All right. So now you said you have two major issues or mistakes.
These are two mistakes. These are two.
And I'm trying to think in my head.
One is a continuity error, and one is an anachronism.
Okay. What's the continuity error?
Now I'm going to do that second.
Okay. Then
That's bigger.
What's the other one then?
When they first meet the female scientist, which is the other big mistake in the film.
Oh, and you know where?
Is having a woman in it.
You know where she's from? She was the girl from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. She was the girlfriend.
Her.
Yeah,
was she?
With the purple hair or whatever. And I was like, oh.
Completely wasted.
Well, you know what I liked, though?
The most bland performance ever. Not her fault.
No, I know. But you know what I liked about that they decided to put her in there. Okay?
Uh-huh.
They decided to do that. You know what I liked?
Did you see the rationale for that?
Oh, that she's she's like the dig out crew or whatever it was.
No, they said that they were afraid of putting someone in there, a MacReady character, because they were afraid it would too much mimic MacReady. So,
I see.
So they said instead of putting a strong male lead because they were afraid it would mimic MacReady,
they tried to do a strong female lead.
They said they did a strong female lead reminiscent of Ripley.
Stop.
So let's not copy this film.
Right.
Let's copy another film.
Okay.
Sorry.
Very quick though.
Yes.
What I did like is that they have a female character in there. She's kind of
two female characters.
Well, that's true. But I'm talking mainly her. Neither character had a partial nude scene, a shower scene. Oh, look at me. I'm surrounded by 12 guys, just like frothing them up. They stayed away from that. And I actually like that because I think under normal circumstances...
It's totally unrealistic, sir.
Well, no, I think under normal circumstances, Hollywood would have went to great lengths to try and get her in at least a T-shirt with no bra.
Which is hard to do in the Antarctic.
They got heat. They got heat in there. It would just make
There's heated plumbing. They got hot water. They take showers like anybody else.
Just be like, wow, that room must be pretty cold. But they went through great lengths to not do that, and I think they could have very easily have gone that way. I mean, that's a very minor, thing to say. Okay, they did something like that. I thought it was good.
How sad is it? How sad is it that we're like applauding a film that was made by Hollywood because it doesn't exploit women with blatant. That's like a battered wife saying, "Well, at least he doesn't hit me in the face." It's such
at least he uses a phone book.
Yeah, it's such a sad example of how bad things have gotten.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'll give you that, but it's not enough for me because the female character. First of all, this is the Scientific Outpost, right?
Yes.
Actually, I'm going to hold off on that because that goes into my second mistake.
Okay.
But when we first meet the female character,
yes,
who is a paleontologist.
Yes.
That's right? That's the name of that.
I think so.
Archaeologist, paleontologist.
I could look it up.
Fuck it.
Yeah, all right.
They'll probably get the wrong name anyway. She's. What is she using?
What is she using?
What is she using in her lab? She's using that little camera thing, the little scope inside the creature.
Oh, yeah.
And she's got a flat screen monitor there. Mm-hmm. She's doing it on 1981, 82, is it?
Oh, yeah.
They didn't have either of those, motherfucker. They did not have flat screen monitors. And
did you notice this, or you read
I looked it up. I looked up.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was looking up something else and I came across that.
Yeah, that shit should have been a real fucking gigantic CRT picture tube monitor.
Someone was even the one person I read that posted about that. I checked a couple news groups because I really wanted to see if I was missing anything, and I was. I missed that.
You know what? I mean, they go through
and you know what?
the whole process of making the movie, and then they get shipments of parts for things on set and they bring in an LCD monitor, and it's like, wait a minute.
Now,
someone should have immediately, while making the movie, said, "Oh shit, this is wrong."
Now,
shouldn't this be a CRT?
I'm not a huge anachronism policer.
Okay,
I'm not the kind of person like when I was watching Super 8.
Yeah,
and they bring up Rubik's Cube. I was like, all right, I'll look it up just for fun. And it turns out they were wrong because Rubik's Cube did exist in that year, but it didn't exist in America in that year. It was only in Russia then.
Okay,
I don't care. I've never been. I only looked it up for fun.
Okay.
But when you have a film like this where they were saying, oh, everything will tie in directly to the film we're trying to prequel, and they can't even be bothered to go out and get a CRT monitor.
Someone had to have one lying around.
And, I mean, and the technology doesn't exist that for that. The scope camera that she was using didn't exist back then. They'd be cutting the thing open. They didn't, or they'd have like a big old, they did not have them.
Right.
They didn't have it. So that is a huge continuity, not continuity, that's a huge anachronism.
Yeah.
In a film that's supposed to be priding itself on following up a film made in the 1980s, early 1980s.
Yeah.
So there's that issue.
Okay.
All right. Then there's 3 things wrong with that scene, though. 4 things wrong. That, the female character, the former boyfriend character, and the evil corporate character. None of these characters are needed for this film.
None.
They bring nothing to the table.
No, you're right. You're right.
There is no major tension brought about by any of them. At all.
Yeah.
And we're also, that scene's wrong because it leaves the confines of the camp, breaking the whole claustrophobic feel of the film, which is another thing that made the first film so good.
Yeah, because they were all trapped in the little base camp.
The viewer is isolated with them. We cannot leave the confines.
And well, the thing is, too, it's like if we leave,
the same reason Misery wasn't
minus
that good of a
50
film.
out. You know?
Yeah.
It's like you can leave.
Right.
But you'll freeze to death.
Yeah, so it's the same reason I didn't like Misery, because it went outside of the book took place in the house.
Yeah.
But when you start going and seeing what happened with the sheriff across town, well, now we're not in that same situation. We're not claustrophobic.
Well, and again, I don't want to defend Misery, but maybe, having so much in the house, maybe it doesn't, a lot of times.
But it worked for the first Carpenter. It worked for the Carpenter.
Yes, it did. But sometimes it just doesn't transition the film right.
I agree with you in some cases.
Yeah.
In this case, it's lazy filmmaking.
No, I agree.
Lazy filmmaking.
I agree.
We have to have a bad guy. Why do we have to have a bad guy? Well, the Carpenter thing didn't have a bad guy. It had characters you liked more and less. It had
well, you had unlikable characters, but they weren't bad.
But even the unlikable characters you liked,
they were just trying to survive.
Yeah,
that's it.
They had dynamics. They were real people. They were
like Childs. You dislike Childs for a decent part of that, but he's just trying to fucking survive.
For a film that has no backstory and no real story interaction outside of what's happening in the film, there is so much, possibly even unintentional, character development in that film.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden we have to go into a backstory about a previous relationship, and we have to have the corporate guys. Oh, I'm in command here, and what I say goes, and blah 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 blah. And even that, when he does that, it's like, oh, they drill into it because of him. It's like, it still has no effect.
No,
because the thing smashes out of the ice anyway.
Which I found that to be.
That was the first fuck. Yeah, it was my second fuck you moment in the film.
I would have liked it better if it just throughout the night, like its own body temperature,
right,
started to melt the ice more and more, and it kind of not oozed out, but kind of crawled out. I know no one could see what I'm doing, but it's just kind of crawled out, kind of broke away. And instead of just this huge, breakage, into the ceiling, reveal, I think a more subtle escape would have been better.
I'm going to tell you why they did that. And it also ties into my continuity error, so I'm not going to tell you why.
Okay.
But there's a major flaw with the screenwriting in this.
Yeah.
I fault the screenwriter 100%. They did it all for a reason, because everything happens for a reason in a film, except the corporate asshole, because there's no reason for that, and except for there's a reason why they did that.
Okay.
All right. But I mean, the dynamic of the female character in the film changes the dynamic, and it was a dynamic that worked so well. And you knew they were going to change it. And that's one of the reasons the thing was such a good film. Mm-hmm. And also, there's more people. And why are there so many people?
I don't know.
The Norwegians, man. How come the Norwegian camp is so much better than the... When you go to the Norwegian camp, first of all, everyone's happy there.
Yeah.
No one's happy at the American camp.
No,
They've got more staff. There's less staff there. They seem to have more decorations and stuff. It's well lit.
Yeah.
They seem to be better equipped than the Americans. Man, the American scientific outpost sucks.
Yeah.
They
can't wait to get out of there.
Yeah, they don't even have women at the American outpost. They have the blow-up doll McCready plays chess with, which they cut out of the film.
That's right. You got to watch the extras for
right.
it. Yeah.
But so the Norwegian camps has got that's the shit. You want to be there, and apparently they all speak English. So I don't know why.
Yeah. translation,
Right.
Communicating is easy.
So that,
but you know what I did like? I did like the scene where they show how the body they find from the Carpenter film.
Oh, you mean
how that came to be?
You mean that non-CGI part where they're cutting open in the autopsy?
No. Later, where the faces start to melt together with the one character, like it fall. And you know what? The other iconic scene from there, which kind of bugged me, was when its head went backwards and almost looked like it was going to separate.
But instead of the head becoming the spider, the whole body becomes a spider.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So they stole that. They just changed it a bit.
But
yeah,
its head goes backwards and it looks like it's going to separate, kind of like Norris from the first film.
Right.
But it doesn't happen. But what it does is it puts its head back and it touches what's his face,
the love interest, former love interest,
the one he played Jim Carrey's character in Dumb and Dumber, that really bad sequel.
Oh, that's why I don't remember him.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it starts to fuse with his face, and then it kills him, and then they light it on fire, and then it just ends up out in the snow, and that's how the Carpenter film finds it.
And there's a problem.
And then they bring that back.
And my problem with that too is it fuses with him, but it doesn't change into him.
It doesn't assimilate.
It doesn't assimilate him. It just like grafts him onto it, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
Well, it was partial. It was a partial.
It didn't take time to digest them and fit and there's got to be a process.
Right.
That didn't make it. I didn't even think of that until just now. That didn't make any sense. God damn it.
What?
It just melded onto him and he became a part of it. No, it would have to have assimilated him and then like grown apart and regrown as him.
But it killed him in the process.
But then instantly it turned him into half of it?
No, it was just his half. It just was fucking being absorbed.
But it stayed there. It didn't get absorbed. It stayed as part.
I
call shenanigans.
Because it got burned at that state.
I call shenanigans. No, it didn't. It went on that whole little trek through the kitchen. That whole Velociraptor scene. With the American.
That was with the other woman.
No. Yeah. The American near the end. That's how it gets outside. And they burn it.
That wasn't near the end.
Yes,
well,
it was
maybe 3/4 of the way.
You're confusing the chick alien with the spider alien. That happens later.
No, I know, but it was in that scene.
But that's another scene.
He's trying to get away, and it grabbed onto him and started to fuse onto his body.
Right. This is all in the scene where they're testing to see who's an alien, and suddenly the alien attacks. Oh wait, that happened in the Carpenter film too.
Yes, it did. Yes, it
did. Bastard.
Well, yeah. So,
you want the major continuity errors, sir?
Let's do the major,
and
so we can.
There's a major continuity error. Then there's the producer's reasoning, or director. I think it was director's reasoning. And he's lying. He's fucking lying.
Flat out lying.
And I'll tell you why he's lying.
All right,
and that's gonna explain the whole ice thing too.
Okay.
In the Carpenter film,
right,
they find the videotapes.
Yes.
And they're like, oh look, what are they doing? They're pacing out the sizes of the ship. What are those? They're thermite charges. They're blowing the ice.
Right, to get to the ship.
Right.
Okay.
They got rid of that. This film that's supposed to flawlessly, seamlessly integrate into the next film, the previous film, they got rid of it. Why would you do that? Instead, what they do is at the end, the spaceship, by the way, everything takes place on the spaceship.
You're right.
Shit.
Yeah. Oh.
Including the little click-clack thing.
Well,
what's with the click-clack thing?
Well, and the fact
that... it looks alien.
And the fact that... And yes, the beginning of the Carpenter film has the one guy off the helicopter trying to throw a grenade and blows himself up.
Right.
But they make sure you know that they got fucking grenades in the prequel.
Yeah, and I have a problem with that. Yeah, and also, if the thing can turn into all these different forms and shapes, how come it can't get smaller and get her in the hole she climbs into? What the really? I can't get in here. He's breaking his own ship. He's breaking up pieces of his own ship. Can't he just
Well, not for anything too, but earlier in the film,
he could have detached his arm.
I was just gonna say that. Earlier in the film, it detaches its own arm.
Right.
And does that whole thing, and that's how the axe scene happens. Why? You're right. Why couldn't it do it right there?
She pulls a newt and hides in like the vent shaft. I'm assuming it's a vent shaft. I guess. Yeah. I don't know. It can't get her. Oh, my big clunky form can't get into this little. Wait a minute! Wasn't I a dog? Like no. Bullshit. People were asking, "Is that its true form?" No. I
want to talk to the person that really loved this movie.
I will slap him.
I would love to talk to that person.
And again, I didn't hate the film, but these are the parts I hated. So we go into the ship, and it apparently it warms up the ship, and that's what melts the ice. Which I guess I don't know why he didn't do that when he first crash landed.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he just want to take a look around and realize, oh shit, cold hurts. I don't. Who knows?
But I don't know. You could always speculate that he couldn't get it started, decided to go out into the cold, realized, fuck, it's cold, died, and ended up in the ice.
So through shitty CGI,
or not didn't die, but got,
So through the worst CGI graphics in the film, we see the ice above the ship, which apparently it was in a huge cavern too, instead of just like forming ice solid over the top of it. It when it warms up the spaceship, that's what excavates all the ice above the ship. So in the Carpenter thing, when they climb down to see the ship, that's just already there. That just occurs naturally.
Yep.
Because that's what would happen if you warmed up a spaceship under the ice. It'd look like an excavation. So what happens is, someone confronts the director, and they say, "You have the thermite charges mentioned in Carpenter's film, but you did the spaceship thing. Why?"
And what did he say?
Here's the big lie. And I'm not going to try whatever kind of accent he has. He said he didn't buy the logic. Wait for this. He didn't buy the logic of a scientific outpost having thermite charges or knowing how to use them. So...
Whoa, wait a minute.
So he felt...
Wait.
So he felt it was more logical for the scope of the film to have the spaceship warming up being how the ship was exposed. He says, I know it's a continuity error in the film that I touted to be a flawless continuity into the next film, but I felt it served the logic of the film better.
So he admits that it's a continuity, because whether he believes it or not, it fucking happened.
Right.
It should have happened.
That's the fucking lie. Is that, the logic of the film did not do that. You want to know why he did that?
Because he fucking didn't. He forgot it. Didn't know.
As a writer, as a screenwriter, the reason he did that is the same reason they had the alien explode out of the ice instead of what you said, which makes more sense and is more cool and more realistic.
Right.
What is the scope of this film? How long what time frame does this film take place in?
What do you mean the time? You mean like in the 80s?
No, in the film. In the film.
What's over how many days?
Like a day, right?
Maybe a day or two.
It's a day.
Yeah.
She gets there that evening.
I would say 2 days.
1 day. Yeah. It's like a 24-hour period. It takes place.
Yeah, okay.
She gets there in the evening. She spends 1 night.
36 hours, maybe?
Tops.
Yeah, okay, max.
They wanted...
I could see that.
Now,
sure.
Carpenter film, that takes place over a course of days.
Yeah, you would say
couple days.
Maybe a business week.
Yeah.
Sure.
4 or 5 days. Maybe a bit shorter.
Yeah.
Their concern was in order to keep the tension, and I'm telling you this, I have no documentation, this is just logic.
Okay.
They wanted to make sure the film took place in a short time period so they could keep the tension going and keep the pace going.
Okay.
In order to do that, they couldn't have them, and they could have too. They could have had her show up after they'd already blown the thermite charges and shown the spaceship.
Sure. But
they decided they wanted her to be there for the revealing of the creature and all this, and they want all this. So they had to condense everything.
Okay.
So they can't have the ice melting and it gets out because ice melts. Ice takes a while to melt.
Well, and again, my whole thing would be that it's body temperature.
Right. That still takes too long.
Probably.
And setting up the whole thermite thing, that takes too long.
Mm-hmm.
You know what doesn't take too long? To show a box of grenades. Because it doesn't make sense. Because it doesn't make sense for a scientific outpost to have thermite charges to excavate ice. Because they're in the Arctic, by the way. But it does make sense for them to have an assload of grenades that are accessible by the one Norwegian that doesn't speak English. That makes perfect logic in the film.
Now that you've mentioned it.
Fucking liars.
No, it is that.
They are fucking liars, and they are not to be trusted. And I'm not surprised too, because look at Eric Heiserer.
Heiserer.
Look at douchebag Eric's original other film, the Nightmare on Elm Street one.
Yeah, which I've only seen parts of.
He takes the great concept of let's go back to the roots and let's make him a child molester.
Right.
Let's do that. it's not a secret because that's what he was in the first film.
Right.
They just never got into it. So he decides to go back to that route. He takes his sweet-ass time doing it. Then he has to add another plot twist in there at the end about the molestation.
Yep.
By the time he gets to that part, you're like, well, why the fuck did you do that in the first place? He actually tries to make Freddy a sympathetic character at one point.
Yeah, from the parts that I have seen, they did try
tries
to do
to make
that.
it,
You're right.
Oh yeah, it's wrong. And then at the end,
I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And then
twist,
they light him on fire in the abandoned warehouse.
So then his big twist at the end is, oh, he actually is evil. No fucking shit, he's killing kids. You don't just fall into that. I don't care how burns you get.
Yeah.
Asshole.
How you feel? You feel
I
good?
didn't hate the film as much until we started talking about it.
I think I'll go back and rewatch it.
It had good scenes.
And I'll watch the Carpenter film
It had
right
good
after.
moments.
It did.
I was impressed by the whole thing with the fillings and the metal. That was a cool...
I think it could have really been a hell of a lot worse.
What'd you think about the ending before the ending?
The ending...
Before the whole Norwegian thing at the end when the helicopter shows up. The ending at the spaceship with her and the other guy. The American...
Are we doing a spoiler for that?
I just said, spoiler. Yeah.
Okay, spoiler.
Yeah, whatever.
Again...
Okay. Who gives a shit?
That was how the whole earring thing came about.
Right.
Because she said... he gets in there and he says they're going to go to the Russian base, which is a 50-mile trek. They got like a snowcat or something.
There's your next prequel. I guess... I don't know how that'll work, but...
They have... he gets in the snowcat. She doesn't want to get in because she tells him, well, before you didn't have an earring... Or before you did have an earring and now you don't.
Right.
And because obviously it can't simulate metal.
Which had been established earlier in the film.
Right.
Yeah.
She presumes that he's an alien.
Right.
And proceeds to burn him alive in the snowcat.
Right.
And they don't... You get the feeling that he might still be human, but...
Until they start playing the alien screeching over. Here's how you play that ending if you're a good screenwriter.
Right.
She also throws the thing where he reaches up and she says, it was your other ear. First of all, the alien assimilates your memories too, because that's how
it would know.
It would know which fucking hearing had an ear. And
when I saw that, I'm like, it would know.
Yeah. He still remembers his name and everything. He just forgot which earring he put. Bullshit. Here's what you do to make that a good ending.
Yeah.
Is you have her say that and have him go, what are you talking about?
And then burn him
I took it out.
Alive.
He's like, I lost it. What are you talking about? And then she burns him. And like, no, don't. And then you don't know for sure whether he was.
Right. And then she ends up in another snowcat just sitting there. And then it fades out.
There's your fucking sequel.
Right. Then it fades out. And it's like, wow.
Now
does she live? Does she die? Does she make it to the Russian camp?
The way they shoot that scene where he's burning.
Yeah.
It's shot dramatically.
Yes.
I have the feeling that at one point they might have even intended it to be iffy on whether or not he was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then for some reason...
They decided to add the screams.
Like, oh no, let's add the alien screaming.
Probably didn't test well. It probably was released without the screams.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably released without the screams because they wanted to kind of go a little bit like the John Carpenter ending where it's like, yes, no, are they both? Is one? Let's wait till it gets dark because then that's when it's going to happen. Fire is everywhere. So it's like it's not going to come out right now. It will at some point if one of them is. And I think that's what they tried to go for. And it probably didn't test well because people want to know.
Yeah.
And they caved.
Mm-hmm.
They said, oh shit, all right, let's add the screams. Because like you're right, in the very beginning of him being burned alive, it's just him going, it's just, and then you hear screams. You hear the alien screams.
And I think it was such a last minute ad because if they were going for that thing where it's the alien, then they would have had some CGI effects in there. Because they didn't. They
had already wrapped. And it's very easy to add sound.
That was in post.
Yeah.
That was in post.
It's very easy to add sound. So.
But this genius alien that can absorb the memories of the things it kills,
right,
has hatched this huge plan that includes killing its other self just to get it over to the man. Which, by the way, why wouldn't you just go with the ship and go into a populated area?
True.
No. This whole driving the cat through the snow is a much more bold approach.
Yeah,
It's that smart, but it forgot it had an earring. And I forgot which year it was in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bullshit. I hate this movie more now than I did before.
Well, I've noticed.
Yeah.
I've absolutely noticed.
And Eric Heiserer. And Daddy's Boy, director.
You know, this episode was so fueled with rage, we never played the trailer. I have the trailer.
Good. Don't play it. Fuck them. Don't play the trailer.
We're actually, I think we're good. I think we can end this.
What time are we at?
I think we're at about an hour. Let me look. Hold on. We are at an hour and 2 minutes.
You know what really irritates me about this whole screenwriting thing where they copped out? Can we talk about Aliens versus Cowboys for a minute? Did you see it yet?
Cowboys versus Aliens?
That one
I have not.
Okay, then I won't.
I haven't seen it.
There's
if you want, I will watch it so we can mention it.
I would like to because
I also have Rise of the Planet of the Apes that I have to watch as well.
Yeah, we need to do that as soon as possible.
Okay.
I need to see that. I enjoyed, despite it being cliche, very Western cliche, I love the opening of Cowboys versus Aliens, and I kind of like the first half of the film. There's a plot device that pops up in the second act.
Really?
That it was like a slap. It was literally, I'm digging this. I'm kind of getting into it. What was that? The film just hit me. What happened?
Well,
and the rest of the film, I can't get over this one plot device because it's obvious to me as a writer that it was put in there to replace advancing the plot with characterization, dialogue, and logic. Instead, it was put this in to explain everything so we can move along to the good bits.
Okay.
It would have taken a little more work,
right?
Demanded a little more from the audience. Instead, they threw this shit in, and it just fouled the taste in my mouth for the second half of the film.
And you know what, too? It's Jon Favreau. Obviously, he's done the Iron Man films. They gave him a lot of money to make this movie, $165 million, and it fucking bombed.
You know, it was
bombed.
I don't think it was that bad.
No, I don't think it bombed because it was bad. I think it was bombed because no one gives a shit about cowboys and aliens.
And you know what? Again, when we were talking about how they named the films,
yeah,
Cowboys versus Aliens. Oh, is that what the movie's about? Thank you. Now, The Skin I Live In, that's a title of a movie. That's it. Look at all these titles that we just went through earlier. Mission Impossible, it's a franchise, whatever. Sherlock Holmes, the franchise. Girl with Dragon Tattoo, that's a real title. You know why? Yeah. It's from a book.
Yeah.
Okay. they didn't shorten it to Dragon Tattoo.
Right, or the
girl.
Dragon Girl. Girl Dragon.
Right. Look at it, Adventures of Tintin. All right, we bought a zoo. That's from a book. That's a blatant garbage, too. War Horse. It's about a horse, and it takes place during the war. Thank you. New Year's Eve. Takes place on New Year's Eve. Thank you very much.
You know what's better? What was it? Was it 200 Cigarettes? I think that was also a New Year's Eve movie.
Yeah, but 200 Cigarettes, that was different because that was about,
No, well,
that was a cool title.
200 Cigarettes were smoked during the film. But
that's a cool title.
But that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
It wasn't called New Year's Eve or New Year's Eve cigarettes or, whatever. We bought a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah. Valentine's Day.
Oh, thank you.
Was it a crazy thing called A Crazy Madcap Love? Whatever. So it's a crazy film about love. Yeah. For the love of God. We're catering to the lowest common denominator here. You know what's killing films? Audiences.
Yes.
Thank God I'm not an audience anymore. I'm a critic. I'm above that shit.
That's right. Movie buff.
That's right. We're buffs. Fuck you, CA. I gotta message him on Facebook, and after I should poke him.
All right, let's go ahead and end the show. So now, can we end the show?
Yeah.
Can we go ahead and do that?
Yeah, we can end the show. Should we end it with a Norwegian with the hand grenades? Like the fucking. This show will seamlessly blend into the previous episode. If you listen to the previous episode after this, it'll make perfect sense, despite the fact that we said Happy New Year now, and before we're saying Hey Merry Christmas.
Yeah, that's true.
Other than that continuity error, it's going to be seamlessly
perfect.
Perfect. What the fuck?
I don't know, man.
They're not even trying anymore. We got the axe in the wall. That's great. What about the thermite charges? Well, that didn't make sense. But the axe made perfect fucking sense.
All right. I guess the usual. iTunes, our website, Stitcher.
Oh, don't skip now. You're not even trying.
I know. I'm just trying to recreate my experience with it.
Google Moviesucktastic.
Google Moviesucktastic. Listen to our show on our website. You can do that. You can listen to us on iTunes.
Which is Moviesucktastic.com. Come on, work with me.
Or badmovieday.com or moviesucktastic.net.
Right.
Give us reviews on iTunes.
Give them more options and confuse them, sir.
I'm sorry. It's really for more bandwidth than anything else.
iTunes, Stitcher. We were going to be on Zoom, but they're kind of defunct now.
Well, we still are.
We're still there, but
we're still there. All our new episodes do post there still.
Right. Mevio.
Mevio.
That's what I said. Mevio.
You said Medio.
I said Mevio.
Yeah, well, when you listen back, you can call me.
I don't care what you heard. Yeah.
Okay. You can leave us voicemail at 908-514-4470. You can leave us email at themovieguys@moviesucktastic.com.
Oh, and by the way, that one program that doesn't carry us, that one place, what is that called again? Palaver? Right. Okay.
No. Come on. Come on. I've let it go.
No. This is something totally different. How you pronounce it?
Palaver.
Okay. It's an actual word, sir. And if you look up the pronunciation in the dictionary, which I finally did,
palaver.
It is palaver. It is palaver, sir.
I know palaver. But it's what is it? To ramble? What's the definition?
To
ramble, to go on, to just run?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Talking. Yeah.
What's his face?
Palaver.
No.
John Grisham.
No.
Steve Buscemi.
No, it's fucking Mondo Madness or something Mondo or whatever. Anyway, the guy that does that.
Yeah.
He goes, enough of this palaver.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Right. Opie and Anthony use it for their opening of their
show.
So
they call
Mondo Topless. It was called.
Okay, but now it's palaver. Even though it's spelled practically the same.
Hey,
I'm pronouncing it right, motherfucker. That's all I want to say.
You're gonna call it palaver?
It's palaver because that's what the word is.
And those are our friends over at Outside the Cinema.
Yeah. You know so tune in to.
We like them. They're good guys.
So tune into Moviesucktastic.
All right, we need to end this. We've been running way too long, and it's time for lunch.
Lunch.
Lunch. All right. So that's your wisdom, palaver.
Palaver and Moviesucktastic.
Palaver. All right, we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah.
We took that right to, as it was like when I said we'll talk to you next week. It was like, whoa. It was fading out on its own.
I saw you give a hand signal. I was like, I better shut up.